Hello, welcome to our podcast series, Paths to Governance, where we'll be lifting the lid on all areas of school management. I'm Sujal Zaveri and I manage Governor Clerking and Governor Services here at Enfield Council. In each episode, I'll be talking to people who are involved in school governance, exploring why they joined us, and delving into the key themes and issues that we grapple with each day. Today, we're going back to basics. We'll be exploring what it means to be a governor, what it involves, why it's such an important role, and what motivates people to do it. I'm absolutely delighted to say that joining me here today is a governor with a wealth of knowledge and experience to share. Prafulla is a co-opted governor at Eversley Primary School. Welcome, Prafulla.
Thank you, Sujal, for having me today.
Thank you, and it's great to have you here. Now, without further ado, let's dive straight into our questions. Tell me, Prafulla, how would you describe what a governor does in a nutshell?
I would say that the prime responsibility is actually holding the school, the head teacher accountable to the requirements and duties of the school. Working with other governors, a governor would be attending meetings, overseeing sort of the vision, and although we don't get involved in the day-to-day running, we try and support and be that critical friend to the school, the head teachers and the teachers in making the relevant decisions more on a strategic level, but to support them in whatever aspects they need.
Thank you. That's a great explanation. Being strategic and not getting involved in operational issues is key here. So what motivated you to volunteer as a governor?
So for a stint, I did volunteer just to support and help out as a volunteer at Eversley Primary School. And going in and out of the school, supporting the children in whether it was reading activities or just, being there for the teacher and supporting day to day. It inspired me to think, this would be great. And having an education background, really, it gave me a bit of motivation to think, well, it would be great to understand how the school runs, how it works. And because I had a good relationship with both the head teacher and the teachers, and I was always asking questions. So when an opportunity came up as a parent governor, I actually applied and was successful. So it was great to be able to work not only with the school, but also to hear parents' views and support them. And it certainly has given me a good insight into how the school operates. And as we said, the critical friend, so being able to sort of challenge at times the school, but certainly being there to support. And it's been really good. And I had my own children at Eversley Primary School at the time, so it was great.
And tell me, how long have you been a governor?
I think it's about approximately 7 years. So Initially as a parent governor, and now that my children have left on to secondary school, I've continued as a co-opted governor.
And what aspect do you think you've enjoyed the most?
Being able to be sort of that in and out of school, and with the role that I have on the safeguarding lead, a link governor as a safeguarding, it enables me to really get involved in understanding how the school is maintaining its standards, how the policies are being met, but also being able to really ensure that the children get the quality of education that they need. And being cared for in the way they are. And ultimately, for I'm sure any governor, it's really about, how do we enhance and support those children in their journey in their education. So I feel it's great to be able to get involved in those details, yet being where we talk about the strategy and support for the teachers and the head teachers accordingly.
And it must have been, again, rewarding during the COVID years to be there for them.
Absolutely. I think that was the biggest change that we moved over to. We talk about sort of the day-to-day teaching for the teaching staff, moving from the face-to-face classes to the online. And there were so many different teachers with different degrees of experience. So to be able to support them in that journey of moving onto MS Teams, just being able to use the technology, which was good because I felt I could contribute and support them. And at the same time, even for the governors, and that change as well.
Yes.
Just thinking, we were all used to having those face-to-face meetings, but then moving on to Teams and that, it was a big shift for everybody, not only the teachers, the governors, but also the children.
So, in your opinion, why do you think that the role of being a school governor is such an important one?
It goes back to the accountability that we mentioned right in the beginning, because the school can operate on a day-to-day basis, but if there's no other body or another role or level that there is a responsibility to, it's difficult for even the head teacher to know that the path they're taking, is it correct? Is it the right one? So it's also ensuring that we're going, with that vision in mind that they have, is following that through. So it is a critical role in helping and ensuring that level of education is being delivered for those children.
Exactly. It's important to have someone there monitoring and supporting and even being a shoulder for the head teacher to not necessarily cry on, but just someone to be able to bounce ideas off and talk to as well. So, absolutely. And you've already mentioned that you've been a governor for a very long time. So what do you think have been the main changes in governance?
I think the school has faced a lot of challenges over the recent years, whether that be on the budgetary issue. And we talked about COVID and the move from that face-to-face to technology as well. So there's been quite significant changes. And also head teachers as well. I've seen, a change from one head teacher to another. So that then also, you've got to be looking at how do staff relate to the new head teacher's way of doing things. So being able to support sort of that continuity of the day-to-day for Eversley Primary was, again, quite a critical area. But even on the whole curriculum side, when new governments come in, and how that might impact on the way the teaching is delivered. I think it's very, again, rewarding, but also being able to be supportive for them to bounce off ideas on what might work. And the good thing about, the governor setup and the body is that everybody comes with different skill sets. So actually being able to support the school in very different ways. Some people may be more experienced on the resourcing side, financial side, some of us more on the curriculum side. So actually attending those different meetings and having those forums certainly helps to have those discussions and support the school accordingly.
But do you think, for example, that the responsibilities that governors have changed over the years? So have you had, has your remit increased? Has it widened? Has it become more complicated? Has it become less complicated?
Certainly, we're all, as you become experienced, you're quite happy to take on more responsibility. And there are phases when we may not have a full governorship of the body. So, we all chip in and trying to take on additional aspects as well. And it becomes, again, challenging when I've mentioned about all the challenges that we face to how are we going to cope with those things as well. So it's been quite a journey. I would say even the support in that we get from Enfield Council as well on the training side, it is very important, and it has been very certainly another area of resource that we can go to as well.
And what do you think you'd like to see change in the future?
We've talked about the face-to-face online. I do feel that as we meet, the governors have continued on the online journey. I think bringing back a bit more of that face-to-face, certainly for the new governors that are coming on board, I think would be really beneficial for them. Because often enough, you build relationships with other governors. And it's very easy for those that know each other to be able to pick up a phone or talk to somebody who can give you that little bit more advice. I'm quite conscious when new governors join is being able to be there for them to say, even if you've got any questions, just reach out. because, we're all still learning, because that's the journey. But also thinking about that training element that I mentioned, I think it would be good for new governors to have a good induction program, which again, I'm sure it varies from school to school in terms of what that induction is. And I know Enfield Council put on various training, but actually having that more formalised would support new governors coming on board. And how do we interact? It's almost having an alumni of really experienced governors that can support new people coming on. So I think a little bit more support for governors from that perspective. I know there's lots of forums in that, and we're all attending on a voluntary basis as well, which is, asking people to put in more time. But I always say the role of a governor, you will gain as much as you put in. So I know, when I had more time, I could actually go in, do a lot more. And, as other responsibilities comes or more work at different times and peaks, it sometimes becomes quite difficult to give as much. But, with that experience, you can sort of dip in and out and support any of the new sort of fresh blood, if you like.
No, that's a really good point, actually. And I think we all underestimate the value of physical interaction. So sitting there on the table, having a cup of tea, chatting about your life before the meeting starts adds a huge value, which online meetings don't add. But then at the same time, online meetings have made our lives so much easier. Yeah. There are governors who tell me that, for example, if they don't find childcare, then it's much easier if the meeting is online. And it cuts out all the travel time.
Yes.
But maybe a hybrid where you have some meetings online and some in person would be the way forward.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on.
And the governor induction and mentoring is, again, extremely valuable. So that's something that we need to encourage people to do more of. Yes, you are all volunteers, but I think trying to do a job without adequate training doesn't enable you to do the job as well as you can. So again, thank you for bringing that to our attention. And we'll continue to strive to have more network groups and more training sessions for you. So what would you say to someone who was thinking of being a governor? Because that's the highlight of this podcast.
Yes, absolutely give it a go. If you feel you've got a passion to helping children, helping the school, understanding a little bit more how things work, give it a go. I think you'll find it very rewarding. And as I mentioned, you will gain as much as you put in. So I think it's inevitable that once you start on that journey, if you're one of these people like myself, you will want to gain more and you will want to get involved more. But the rewards are really great when you see, you're doing your rounds and how doing your walk-arounds in the school, talking to the children, and actually seeing the value of those teachers and the quality of teaching and how much effort they put in, and actually seeing the child at the end of the day saying, I've had a good day, I've done this, and they want to show you your work. That enthusiasm is the best reward that any governor can get. So get involved. Have a go. It may be challenging at times, but you'll gain. You'll always gain, and you're always learning. I think if you've got an interest in education, you'll always gain, something else that you didn't know about, and your contribution. Don't underestimate, because there's something that we all can offer. So I think as a governor, you can always add those added benefits.
That's again a really good point. All of us can contribute. So I think for anyone who's feeling a bit nervous about doing something like this, just to bear in mind that we've all got something that we can contribute to any governing body. So thank you so much. That was really valuable and a real insight into your life as a governor over the years.
An absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much, listeners, for listening to us. If any of you are now interested in wanting to be a governor and applying, then please visit Enfield Council website. A big, big thank you to Prafula for joining us today. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and best of luck on the rest of your journey as a governor. Listeners, do join us again next time for our podcast with the lead on school improvement. Thank you.